In 7.3b, we're going to look at a few more examples of factoring using MAM. So remember, we're going to label our trinomial as MAM, and then we're going to create our tic-tac box off to the side. I'm going to put my M's in the first one and my A in the second one. So in all the examples in 7.3a, we had a 1 at the front, but now we have a 2x squared. So I'm going to multiply 2 times 6, which gives me 12. Then for my add box, I've got a positive 7. So now I'm going to make my list of possibles off to the side over here. And I've got positive 12 and positive 7. So both of my numbers are going to be positive. I want to multiply to give me 12, so that'd be 1 times 12. And I want them to add to give me 7. Well, 1 plus 12 is 13, so we know that's not going to be it. Let's try 2 times 6. 2 plus 6 gives me 8, so that's not it. 3 times 4. 3 plus 4 gives me 7, and that's what I wanted. So that means that my other boxes here are going to be 3 and 4. Okay, my next step is to create my fractions. Now, whatever constant's out front here, that's going to go on both of my fractions. And then I'm going to split up my variables. So since I've got x squared, I'm going to put 1x on each fraction. Then I take my two numbers from my tic-tac, and I'm going to put them on the bottom of my fraction. Now, my next step is to simplify. This first fraction, 2/3, I can't simplify that one. But this one, 2x over 4, that simplifies to just 1x over 2. Now, if you can't simplify that in your head, you can type this in, 2 divided by 4 into your calculator. That gives you 1 over 2. So that's where you get 1 over 2x. Okay, so now I've got my two fractions, and I can use my two fractions to write my answer. So I'm going to get 2x plus 3 times x plus 2. And that gives me my final answer. Okay, let's look at number 2. I've got MAM. I'm going to create my box off to the side. My numbers that I'm going to multiply together are 3 and negative 5. 3 times negative 5 gives me negative 15. And my add box is going to be positive 2. Okay, so now that I have a negative number, if I'm going to multiply to get a negative number, that means I need one number to be negative and one to be positive. And if I'm going to add to get a positive, that means a bigger number. So I'm going to make my list. Multiply to give me 15, so that's 1 times 15. But my bigger number is going to be positive, small number is going to be negative. So that would be negative 1 plus 15, which gives me 14. That's not what I want, so let's try the next one. Negative, let's see, you can't put 2 in there, but I can do 3. Negative 3 times 5. Negative 3 plus 5, and that does give me 2. So I'm going to put negative 3 and 5 into my box. Next, I'm going to write my fraction. So I've got 3 on both, and then a y, split up my variable, y on each. Then we got negative 3 on the bottom and 5 on the bottom. My first fraction here, this 3 divided by negative 3, that's just 1, negative 1. And this fraction, 3y over 5, we can't simplify that, so these are my two simplified fractions. When I rewrite those, I've got y minus 1, and I've got 3y plus 5. Okay, number 3. Label my 3 parts and write my box. I've got 2 times 7, which gives me 14, and I've got negative 11 in my add column. I want to multiply to give me a positive and add to give me a negative, so that means I'm going to have 2 negative numbers. So if both of my numbers are going to be negative, I would have negative 1 times negative 14. Negative 1 plus negative 14 gives me negative 15. That's not what I want, so it's not that answer. Then let's try negative 2 times negative 7. Negative 2 plus negative 7 gives me negative 9. Not what I want either. Try the next one. Let's see, 3 can't go into 14. Not 4, not 5, 6, and then we get to 7. So when our numbers start to repeat, we would have negative 7 and negative 2. We already tried that combination. So that means there's no more possibles that multiply to give me 14 or add to give me negative 11. So if there's no solution here, that means that we have a prime trinomial. Cannot be factored. Okay, number 4. If I've got 4 times negative 5, that gives me a negative 20. And then I'm going to add to give me a negative 8. So let's make my list over here. If I want to multiply to get a negative number, that means one number is going to be negative. And if I add to get a negative number, that means my bigger number is going to be negative. So that means if I did 1 times 20, my 20 would be negative. The bigger number is negative. That gives me a negative 19. So that's not quite what I want. Let's try the next one. 2 times negative 10. 2 plus negative 10 gives me negative 8. So that is my answer here, 2 and negative 10. Now I'm ready to write my fractions. My constant is going to go on both. I'm going to split my variable. Then I've got 2 and I've got negative 10. This first fraction, 4 divided by 2, that just gives me 2. And remember, if I just have a whole number there, that means there's always a 1 on the bottom. 2 over 1. Then that 4 divided by negative 10 gives me a negative 2 over 5. But I always actually want to keep that negative with the number on the bottom so that I know where to put it in my binomial. So my answer here is going to be 2d plus 1, 2d minus 5. Okay, we've got 2 more here. Five times 6 gives me 30. I'm going to add to give me 13. One times 30 gives me 30, but 1 plus 30 gives me 31. So not the answer I'm looking for. Let's try 2 times 15. 2 plus 15 gives me 17. Still not what I'm looking for. Let's try 3 and 10. 3 plus 10 does give me 13. So 3 times 10 gives me 30. 3 plus 10 gives me 13. So those are the two numbers I'm looking for, 3 and 10. My next step, I'm going to take my first term here and I'm going to write my fractions. So each fraction is going to have a 5. I'm going to split my variable. Then I have a 3 on the bottom of the first one, 10 on my second one. 5 over 3, we can't simplify that, but this second fraction we can simplify to just x over 2. And then I can write my binomials. So I've got 5x plus 3 and x plus 2. Okay, one more here. Let's label it MAM. I'm going to multiply 4 times negative 35, and that is going to give me negative 140. Then I'm going to add to get negative 4. Alright, let's list our possibles here. So if we have a negative for our multiplication, that means one number is going to be negative, and if our addition number is negative, that means the bigger number is going to be negative. So if I have 1 times negative 140, 1 plus negative 140 gives me negative 139. Not what I'm looking for. 2 times negative 70, 2 plus a negative 70 gives me negative 68. Still not what I'm looking for. Let's try, let's see, 3 doesn't go into 140. 4 does. We have 4 times negative 35. 4 plus negative 35 gives me negative 31. Nope, still not working. 5. That would be 5 times negative 28. 5 plus negative 28 gives me negative 23. Still not what I'm looking for. 6 doesn't go into 140, but 7 does. 7 we would have 7 times negative 20. 7 plus negative 20 is negative 13. We're getting closer, but still not right. 8 doesn't go in, 9 doesn't go in, but 10 does. 10 times negative 14. 10 plus negative 14 gives me negative 4. So this is the combination I'm looking for. 10 and negative 14. Ready for my fractions? I've got 4 on each, and then I split my variable. And I've got 10 on my first fraction and negative 14 on my second. Both of these can be simplified. 4 divided by 10 gives me, let's see, 2 over 5. And 4 divided by negative 14, that simplifies to 2 over negative 7. Now I take these fractions to write my binomials. I get 2m plus 5 and 2m minus 7.